Hi, welcome to today's talk with my friend Grace. Grace is trained as a social worker. She is a counselor. She specializes in a drumming circle, which is a wonderful gift that she gives to people. And she has a background in counseling for addictions. So today, Grace and I invite you to exist here in our presence. We're going to talk about stress and how we can get rid of some stress. And I'm sure you've heard how important breathing is. But I'm just going to start with, do this with me. If you have a cup of coffee, I'm hoping you brought a cup of tea, cup of coffee, or a glass of water. Take it and put it in front of you and just smell the coffee. Now just blow your coffee. It's a little too hot. Let's do that again. Smell your coffee. And just blow your coffee. It's a little too hot. So we've just brought our stress level down a notch together. And you can pick up your coffee and do that again anytime you want while we're talking. We're going to be hearing from Grace about several things that we can do around our house, simple things that are going to just help you get rid of stress. And before we go there, I just want to quickly run through the hand-brain model, which you've probably heard about it, but if you haven't, it's Tina Payne Bryson and Daniel Siegel came up with it to explain to children how our brains work. The thing about brains, and I did this even in university, is as soon as I heard somebody talking about brain, I went, that's so complicated, that's so complicated, that's so complicated. And I didn't actually understand how easy it is to understand different parts of your brain. So don't let yourself think this is complicated because we're just doing 3 parts of your brain. Only 2 of them are really important for today. But you've got your brain stem, and then you've got your cortex, your external part of your brain, all the folds that you always see in the pictures. And then in the middle, underneath is your emotional brain. And in your emotional brain, there's a little part that looks the shape of an almond. And it is about the size of an almond. And it's actually called almond, only it's in another language, Latin. So it's your amygdala. So it's covered over. And when your amygdala gets activated, that's your fight, flight, and freeze. So when you feel startled or alarmed by something, the hand model says you flip your lid. Your inner amygdala gets startled. Let's say a balloon pops in your house and you just go woof and you're startled. And what happens is this part of your brain, your cortex, where your reason is and where your thinking is, kind of gets thrown a little bit off track. And that might stay off track for weeks and even months if you have lots and lots of alarm in you. Or it might just come back as you just say to yourself, oh, it was just a balloon, and your brain comes back. But that's what we're going to talk about is when you get stressed like that, what are some physical ways that you can process out that stress? Because most of us are living with quite a bit of stress that goes somewhere in our body. Most of our emotional brain was working already when we were born. Long before words came along, we had the emotions and they got stored down into our bodies. And so understanding that emotions happen before words, when we go back to try and process them, we want to go deeper than what words can. And so today, that's what we're going to look at. And Grace is going to share a whole bunch of her good ideas with us.
The first thing that I want to do, though, is just mention to anybody, even if we have a lot of that alarm in our lives, we have a lot of stress in our lives, I'm going to give you some really simple little things that you can do. If these things aren't working for you, you may need to seek additional help. This isn't meant to be a fix-all for everything. These are just simple little tips and tactics. I also want to give out a disclaimer that any of these things that I suggest that you do in an obsessive or compulsive manner, it's going to cause you more stress and not less. So please take that into context as I'm talking about these different things that you can do to relieve your stress, that if you're doing something repetitively, you know, and you're feeling stress as you're doing it, then that's obviously not going to work for you. And you may need to, you know, talk with a good friend or someone who's an expert in one of those fields to help you find something that will work for you and within your life. But that's the bonus of these things is it can be adapted to anyone.
So as you say that, I also realize that sometimes I've been too stressed to go to a professional. Like that makes me more stressed. So it's true, we're not trying to give professional help here. And some people might want some professional help or they may need it, but feel too stressed. So if you're watching this today and you're feeling like, wow, I'm beginning to realize that I am really carrying a lot of stress in my body and I probably should go talk to a therapist. These things might actually bridge you to a place where you feel safe enough and calm enough to do that.
Even if you do connect with a therapist, know that, you know what, that one therapist you connect with, it may not be the right connection, and you may need to make a different connection with a different therapist. It's relationship. So not all relationships are equal to others, and you may need to experiment with a few, and that's actually quite normal. So if you go to a therapist for the first time and you're like, oh, that was really overwhelming and it wasn't feeling good, then maybe you just need to switch to a new one. And therapists are used to that, so they're not going to be offended if you don't follow them. Okay, so here we go. So here are the 7 best ways that you can get rid of stress. You can complete that stress cycle. So when Ellen was talking about being stuck in that, you know, that flight or freeze in the amygdala area of the brain, we want to get you back up here in that prefrontal cortex. So the 7 easiest ways to get unstuck are here. Number 1 is physical. So I already give you the disclaimer for this. Again, remember, this is not compulsive. This is not obsessive physical activity. This is just movement. And it can be joyous movement. You can dance around your living room to your favorite song. You can play it in your car and dance. You can do whatever works best for you. Sometimes cleaning works, sometimes folding laundry works. It should change your heart rate though. So if you fold laundry slowly and calmly, you may actually want to pick it up and fold laundry as quickly as you possibly can, have a race. Physical movement. That is the number 1 way and the best way to get that stuff out of your muscles and get your brain unstuck and get you into that different mode. So physical, number 1. Number 2 is breathing. Again, with this, breathing is probably just going to take the edge off. It's not going to actually, it can help you complete the stress cycle, and it can help you get through a stressful time and not fall into that, you know, flight, fight, or freeze area. But breathing is a great thing to do. So again, you know, that smelling of the coffee, there's something called square breathing, which I'm going to teach you right now. Square breathing is, and we're just going to do it together. We're going to breathe in through our noses for 5. So we're going to smell our coffee for 5. We're going to hold our breath for 5. And then we are going to release the breath for 10. And I know different people have different lung capacities, so we're not going to count super slow, but we're still going to count slowly. And you need to engage your diaphragm, so you need that movement. That's really key to this. And you're only going to do it 3 times, so 90 seconds. We're going to use that 90 seconds just to breathe. So here we go. We're going to go 5, 5, 10, 5, 5, 10, nothing. Nothing for 5. And then we're going to start over again. So here we go. Breathe in through our noses for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 5. 5 more. Engage the diaphragm. Nothing for 5. In for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 10. Engage the diaphragm. Nothing for 5. More time, in through the nose. Hold for 5. Out for 10. This time I want you to give a sigh if you can. Nothing for 5. And we're done. That's it. That's your 90 seconds worth of breathing. Really simple, really easy, takes the edge off. Tell me you don't feel a little bit more relaxed. Okay, on to the next one. So we've had physical movement, and it can be anything. And typically, we're talking about 20 minutes of physical movement, and it has to get your heart rate up. Breathing was number 2. Next is positive social interaction. So it doesn't actually have to be, oh, I need to go to my friends and have a visit and that sort of thing. Nope, don't even do that. Go over and get a coffee from your local barista and compliment his or her earrings. If he doesn't have earrings, then compliment something else. But just a positive social interaction. If you are on a bus, don't ignore your bus mate. Talk to them. Any positive interaction will actually help us learn that there are more lifeguards than sharks in this ocean of ours that we exist in. So that positive, it actually changes the hormones in our brains, which is fascinating. So there you go. Any positive social interaction, and it can be fleeting, simple, easy, happy, fun, reassuring your brain that there are more lifeguards than sharks. And then laughter. And I'm not just talking about forced laughter, like, ha, ha, ha. I'm talking about the impolite, snorting, belly laughs. So I'm talking about serious laughter here. Put on your most favorite ridiculous movie from when you were a kid or when you were younger. Turner and Hooch is one of mine. I laugh at that all the time. I can't help it. That is my I'm going to laugh myself to death type of movie. Love that movie. Laughter is huge. And next we've got affection. So physical affection. If you have a partner and you can engage with them, if you can kiss them for 6 seconds, and I'm talking like 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. So actually 6 seconds, not 6 1-second kisses. No. 1 6-second kiss. It's actually a fairly long kiss. So if you can do that, it will help relieve some of that stress. The other thing that you can do is a 20-second hug. So this doesn't mean that lean in type of hug where you're holding each other's weight up and one person would move and the other person would fall down. This means both people are in the center of their own center of gravity, and you are holding each other up and holding on for 20 seconds. And that's slow 20 seconds, same thing. Again, that changes your brain chemistry. In this same category, petting your favorite pet, your fuzzy bunny or your kitty or your puppy, those things, that actually counts as affection these days. It will release the same things. The other thing that can really help is being part of having something bigger. So actually being part of a church group or a religious group can actually work the same way, because you know that you're supported. So even having someone pray for you or praying in a group with someone can start to release this oxytocin. So even if you're not in the same room and you're on Zoom and praying with someone or over the phone with someone, that can work actually in the same way, which is an amazing bonus. The next one is, go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, so if I jump in here, I want to just jump in and check something. So yes, I want to hug my partner or my kids who are grown up in a way that they're not leaning on me. But when I'm reading to my 2 little grandsons, they sit beside me and then they slowly lean onto my shoulder. And I think that does the same thing for me, but I think that's them absorbing the physical connection that they get. Is that correct? Would that count, them leaning in on me and sitting there snuggling for a while?
Yeah, because you're bonding. It's that physical attachment, right? So yeah, it's a positive physical interaction. The next one is a big old cry. People who say that crying doesn't accomplish anything, they're wrong. Science tells us that they are wrong. So it doesn't, and it actually doesn't even have to be about something that's happening in your life. You can turn on your favorite, very sad, very heart-wrenching movie, An Affair to Remember with Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. Whatever it is that is a tearjerker for you, and you know that, turn it on, pop some popcorn, and just cry. Just go through the emotions with them. Because even though you're going through the emotions with the character on the screen, you are still actually physically releasing the tension that is built up in your muscles and your body in the same way. And if you cry for no reason, it's okay. It actually is your body releasing stress. So it's good. This is a good thing. Crying does accomplish things. So don't let anybody ever tell you that it doesn't anymore. Science has proved them wrong. Okay, next thing is creative expression. This is my favorite one, folks. You can do anything. You can draw or paint or write or make quilts or whatever it is, or bake, whatever it is that you love to do. And it's just creative expression. Even I took up painting recently, and even preparing the canvases. I am serious. I'm just painting canvases black and I am releasing stress. I haven't painted anything on them yet. I've done nothing with them. All I've done is paint the canvas black. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel better.
Um, so even coloring those adult coloring books, that's why they're so popular and that's why they're so helpful. For me, the feeling of what kind of paint I'm using. Mm-hmm. So if I'm using a certain kind of pencil or a certain kind of paint, acrylic paint in big glops is so much nicer than the runny acrylic paint. And I can actually feel that that's something that activates my stress release.
Yes, and that's actually brings up another really good topic, Ellen, which is how do you know if you've completed a stress cycle? Well, the best way that I had it described to me was this way. It's like, you know, when little kids fall down and bump their knees or whatever, and they really cry. They come to you and they're just crying, and then finally, after a little while, they give up and they have this sort of shaky breath, and they that's their body saying they're done. So if that's ever happened to you, or if you just feel like even just a little, because if you have a lot of stress stored up in your body, and you've had a lot of trauma in your life, chances are completing the stress cycle, it's going to take a while to get through enough of the stress cycles where you're really feeling some relief each time. And so even just going for a walk in nature and feeling, oh, yeah, I really am enjoying this 5 minutes, or I'm really enjoying this audiobook, or whatever it is, this song, just that savoring and just feeling like just a little bit, just today, I feel just 1.5% better than I did, before I went for this walk, or before I danced around my living room to my favorite song, or before I played and sang my instrument, whatever that is for you. That's how you know that you've actually completed a stress cycle. And that's it. That's the 7. So I'm just going to quickly review them again. Physical movement, breathing. We have positive social interaction, and just little ones, even your partner on the bus or the barista down the street, laughter, really important. Affection, having a big old cry, or creative expression. So that's those 7.
So what I love about those are things that are all accessible in your house. You don't have to go out and buy anything. You don't have to have special equipment. And actually, they're really natural. And that's a really important piece of this, is that our bodies actually do know how to process things. And we just need to listen in and join with what comes naturally to us, or what nature has given us. And one of the hardest things for me is watching how often people hold back their tears. It's like, really, it would be so much better if you would just cry. It's okay. And so if that's all you take away from this, is that when I feel that feeling of crying, it's okay. That's a great message. All of these are really good. And again, just to reiterate that if you do something compulsively, if you feel like you're bound to do it and you're not actually able to stop doing something, it may actually be sustaining.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you can, that can very easily happen. So you need to be aware of those things. Okay, am I actually doing this compulsively, or is this something that I'm enjoying and it's helping me?
Yeah.
Yes. The other thing that you should know is that it's best if you can actually get this do 20 minutes of this 6 days a week. That's going to really, really help relieve things and really takes down some of that chronic stress that has probably been built into your system throughout your entire lifetime. So in order to really start feeling the release and really start, you kind of need to schedule it in, like seriously, put it in your calendar. Even if you've got nothing else on your calendar that day, make sure that you put in 20 minutes of this. It's good that you can go 20 to 60 minutes, but 20 minutes, 6 days a week is awesome.
I've actually heard that if you make a list and you check it off, that's really good. Like it gives you a good burst in your brain. So make a list, say, I'm going to breathe today and I'm going to drink a cup of coffee today. And then when you check off your list, you'll get a little burst of good hormones, stress release in your brain.
So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was mindful self-compassion. So this really is just built of 3 things. It's self-kindness, which is you treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend. And I hope that's really nicely. Or the person that you love the most. Common humanity. And this is nothing bigger than just knowing that you aren't the only one who's experiencing whatever pain or shame you're going through. You're not alone in it. And the third one is mindfulness. And that is just thinking about what you're thinking, looking at it rationally. So from this prefrontal cortex, and thinking about, okay, yes, this thing, whatever it is, really ticked me off. But when I step back, or I'm really embarrassed about this, but when you step back, you go, you know what? Yeah, I put my foot in my mouth there. That wasn't such a smart thing, but it's actually not the end of the world. I'll just apologize to that person, and hopefully they'll just be okay with it. So it's not the end of the world. So that's all that is. So 3 things: mindful self-compassion.
We started with the cup coffee, which is no longer coffee, but let's imagine. And we started with taking in a deep breath, smelling that coffee, and then blowing on it, which we talked about today as a way to release stress. But now let's take it to the next level of really enjoying our coffee, being kind to ourselves. I love coffee. If you don't love coffee, don't drink it. Find something you love, but take the time to say, this is a moment for me to be kind to myself, to take care of myself, to enter into the moment. If I've been beating myself up, say, I wouldn't treat my friend like that. And to really enjoy the cup of coffee. Sit, take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. If you're kinder to yourself, you will be kinder to other people. That's pretty much a proven scientific fact. And drink your coffee slowly. So thanks, Grace, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, loved it. And enjoy your coffee.